I'd like to begin this meeting of Bethlehem City Council for Tuesday, November 1st. Will everyone please stand for the invocation be given by Father Nicholas Kalis, St. Nicholas, Greek Orthodox Cathedral. Please remain in standing for the pledge.
O Lord Almighty God, creator of man and master of the universe, we approach thee with humble hearts and ask thy blessing upon this assembly gathered here to serve our municipality, state, and country. Grant unto them integrity and unfailing dedication to the cause of the betterment of our community. May they seek righteousness, honesty, and truth in the pursuit of their labors with the absence of prejudice. May their effort reflect a strong sense of responsibility to provide for the needs of the poor, relief to the oppressed, and the promotion of social justice, as well as economic well-being for all our citizens. Let us remember those in the military service who are fighting for the freedom of our country. May God grant them victory and a safe return to the bosoms of their families. God grant eternal peace to our beloved fallen brothers and sisters. Let us entreat our Lord to continue his benevolent mercy and bless us, that receiving his aid, protection, and guidance in all our earthly endeavors, may we ever render glory and thanksgiving to his holy name forever unto ages of ages. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If I'd been quicker on this,
Please call the roll.
Mrs. Walensky. Present. Mr. DiGiacinto. Ms. Dahl.
Present.
Mr. Evans.
Present.
Mr. Mauer.
Present.
Mr. Reynolds.
Present.
Mr. Donchev.
Present. We'll move to item 4, approval of minutes, October 18, 2011. Any comments? Any stand approved? Mr. Sidoni?
This evening, pursuant to 53-39-408 ordinance, there is to be an adjudication by Bethlehem City Council following public hearing conducted by council on October 17, 2011, as to Officer Jeffrey Rogers. The Bethlehem City Council members participating are those that were in attendance at the hearing on the 17th, being President Donchez, members DiGiacinto, Evans, and Reynolds. To be noted for my previous memorandum of assent that this is an agenda item for tonight's meeting for a motion, and that the formal resolution to confirm the motion and to reflect the motion will be placed on the November 15, 2011 council agenda. A member of council who participated in the public hearing may or can make a motion with regard to the matter of Officer Jeffrey Rogers. The motion needs to be seconded and a vote taken upon the motion by council.
Thank you. Any comments? We'll move to item 5, courtesy of the floor for public comment on an ordinance or resolution to be voted on this evening by City Council. It's an agenda item with a 5-minute time limit. I believe 2 individuals that did sign up, Mr. Howe and Dominic Celestina, occupy Bethlehem zoning. That's not an agenda item. That would be second courtesy of the floor, that you would have the opportunity to speak. Just one announcement here before we do move into public comment. Under the first courtesy of the floor, the chair will recognize those who wish to speak to the matters of the Kemmer Museum addition proposal and the residential treatment facility proposed at 111 Dewberry Avenue, since it is anticipated that these matters will be added to the agenda this evening for consideration and action. So the chair will accept public comment on both issues. And first, Judge William Ray.
Ladies and member of council, President Donchez, I'm William Moran. I reside in the city of Bethlehem at 2345 Center Street. Therefore, I'm a resident of the city. I think I've been a resident for over 20 years, with a brief sojourn away period in Hanover Township, and prior to that I resided in Northfield Apartments in the city of Bethlehem, and then prior to that I lived in various places, including Vietnam during the war. Beyond that, I think I have standing. I'm here on behalf of myself I happen to be a member of a group, an informal group known as the North Bethlehem Action Committee. The committee is deeply concerned about a development proposed for Dewberry Avenue at the location of the former Calvary Baptist Church. As council are undoubtedly aware, Penn Venture Corporation, affiliated with Mr. Abraham Keel, a well-known developer in the valley, proposes to build a residential treatment facility for 70 adults. We as a group, and I individually, believe this is a totally inappropriate use. I recognize it's in a special exception zone. However, while there are specific provisions which deal with issues that must be dealt with when you're given a special exception, there is also a general requirement that the special exception not be harmful to the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens and neighborhoods of this community. I suggest to you that it is an irrational proposal in light of the fact that Bethlehem Catholic High School immediately adjoins this facility. It is an open facility. Contrary to statements made, which seem to suggest, we learned last night at the zoning hearing, that it is clearly an open facility. People may leave whenever they want. People may mingle outside of the building in any location they wish. They have no police power to keep these patients in the building. For these and many other reasons, we join with Becca High School and the Diocese of Allen and ask City Council to become a party to the litigation. We are a group of citizens. While I can't say I'm poor, I am not able to fund the difficult task of preparing and presenting witnesses who may be professionals or experts, subpoenaing and funding a objection which clearly should be made on the public's behalf by the city of Bethlehem. As you know, I think your solicitor will confirm this, under the statute you are automatically parties to every zoning litigation. You can join at any time. While certain testimony has taken place, you can still join, present a case. We need your help, and we cannot afford, and the citizens should not be put to the burden in a situation where an obvious detriment to public health and welfare is being proposed for this city to the immediate harm of the neighborhood and most specifically to the potential harm to the students and faculty at Bethlehem High School. Therefore, speak in favor of the resolution that has been prepared by Mr. Spadone. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Hollenbach?
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As you may remember, I am the chair of the Kemmerer Museum of Decorative Arts.
Name and address just for the record, please.
It's Barbara Hollenbach,
Thank you.
and I live at 3025 Barnesdale Road here in Bethlehem. I'm here tonight as president of the Kemmerer to speak in support of a motion that comes before you in terms of approving the certificate of appropriateness for the collection storage facility to be built at the Kemmerer. It appears after the last meeting, after we did some investigation, that you may not have had all of the information that was pertinent to your decision with respect to the Kemmerer proposal. I hope that's now been remedied and that the information that you needed to make an informed decision about this project has indeed been conveyed to you. The Kemmerer is an important project not only for the museum and historic Bethlehem. We believe that it is an important project for the city of Bethlehem as a whole and to preserve the treasures that the Kemmerer and the affiliates of historic Bethlehem hold. One of the things that I would tell you that has happened since you last met, under the terms of the state grant which we have, This project and the design of it is subject to review by the Pennsylvania Historic and Museum Commission. The design that is being presented for a certificate of appropriateness this evening is the same design that was presented to the PHMC. And just either Friday or yesterday, we received, and I believe that you should have a copy of, PHMC's approval finding that this project and its design is in accord with the Secretary of the Interior's guidelines for the renovation and addition to historic buildings, and that it will not have any adverse effect on the Central Bethlehem Historic District. So with that in mind, and with the additional information that I hope you've all had, and with the fact that HARB voted 6-1 in favor of this project, and PHMC's approval of it as designed, I would urge you to approve the certificate of appropriateness for Kemmer. I appreciate you taking all of the time that you've taken to understand the concerns that we have had, make sure that we now have all of the full information with respect to this project, and we very much appreciate Council's consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Charlene Dodges-Mowers.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for your time. My name is Charlene Dodges-Mowers. I am the president of Historic Bethlehem Partnership. The Kemmerer Museum of Decorative Arts is one of the affiliates of our institution. As I'm sure you all know, we have thousands, literally over 60,000 artifacts in our combined collections. This collections resource addition to the Kemmerer Museum of Decorative Arts is very important to the appropriate care of these wonderful artifacts that we are trying to preserve for current and future generations. This collections resource addition will also give us the opportunity to make the collections much more accessible to the visiting public and to scholars who are doing research on all the wonderful treasures that we have. I would like to thank you very much for your consideration of our request for a certificate of appropriateness. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bonzo.
Hi, good evening. I'm Fred Bonzel. I'm the chair of HARP. I would like to introduce the standards for rehabilitation and the Secretary of Interior standards by which we vote on all our matters. The issue for the Kemmerer Museum addition falls under item 9, which is new additions, exterior alterations, or related new construction shall not destroy historic materials that are characterized the property. The new work shall be differentiated from the old and shall be compatible with massing, size, scale, and architectural features to protect the historical integrity of the property and its environment. We had 3 exhaustive, really exhaustive meetings over this particular project. The first 2 failed. The third presentation, which we felt did meet this criteria, was voted as a 6-1, and we have totally believe in the fact that we are correct in doing this, and accordingly, so the letter that we were all talking about. I'm not going to reiterate that, but the Pennsylvania Historic Museum Commission has recommended that the project be approved as the HARB has promised. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Zabrowski.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Callahan, Mayor.
Name and address.
Oh, yeah. I was trying to be courteous. Greg Zabrowski, 23 Dewberry Avenue, lifelong resident of Bethlehem, and I'm here to speak this evening about the proposed drug and treatment center at the former site of the Baptist Church next to the Bethlehem Catholic High School. I want to preface my remarks by saying I worked 37 years in education, and I worked with many students who had drug and alcohol problems. And I make that comment because my objection to this proposal is not based on the fact that there's not a need for treatment in Lehigh Valley. There certainly is. But the proposed treatment center and those who would do the treating couldn't even get approval in their own community. That is the Malvern Institute today. It's there because it was put there in 1948. and other Malvern Institute treatment centers that would occupy that center are in either industrial sites or in hospital complexes. A residential center, I thought it was ironic last night that it was Halloween, and it certainly was no treat to listen to this proposal. And I mean that in a very serious way, because this is a very serious business dealing with a very serious issue. But what's even more serious, and your fundamental responsibility as public officials, is to protect the health, safety, and welfare of its citizens. I worked in education. Putting a drug treatment center next to Bethlehem Catholic High School on face is an insane proposal. I think if the proposals, I know there's an exception for this, which could be allowed if approved. I doubt those council members or those who approve this exception in this zoning ordinance would have ever thought in their wildest imagination that a developer would propose a drug treatment center which is not secure, housed, the plan is even, I'm going to get into the plan in a couple seconds here, housed next to a high school, on its face would be laughable, let alone considered a serious proposal. There are two areas I'd like you to consider, and I hope you do vote in favor of the resolution you're going to be faced with this evening. The character of the neighborhood is essential. If you look at section 3, the intended character of the general vicinity should not be altered by any proposal. Well, even if you accept the physical nature of that church, and it's going to be altered with a fence, a security guard, gates, surveillance cameras. Now, I know my church, I don't know about your church, but I don't think those provisions are what I am greeted with on a Sunday. Those security provisions are not in place right now at that Baptist church, and that definitely will alter the character, the flavor, and the obvious sight of that part of the neighborhood. The other factor is the fact that there's a security issue here that is a very serious one. Anyone could come come in and leave, as Judge Moran previously stated, without any holds barred. There will be felons moving in and out of that, because if you're involved in illegal drugs, you are committing a felony. And there is no provisions that can guarantee that individuals will not walk out of that facility when they seem and deem to choose. So without belaboring the point, but it is a very serious issue, I'm going to remind you of a former mayor of Bethlehem, and I think Councilman Maurer, you might have said this too in public forums. What makes Bethlehem a unique city and what makes it so livable is the beautiful character and the livability of our neighborhoods. It distinguishes us from other communities in the area. And this neighborhood will unalterably be changed if that proposal would go through. The character of that neighborhood needs to be preserved and protected, as well as the health and safety of that neighborhood. I say that with all due respect, and I hope you support the amendment that is the resolution before you this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Nelson? Mr. Bill Nelson?
I didn't ask to speak.
Yeah. Larry Eggman?
Good evening. I'm speaking in support of the certificate of appropriateness for 301 Broadway. I am the owner of the building. My name is Larry, last name E-I-G-H-M-Y, and I live at 1503 Creek Road. The AWLA building that is 301 Broadway is designed by the same architect known in the neighborhood for having designed the original Brockle School. Certainly one that your council is familiar with. Our efforts to preserve the building and make it relevant continue. In our work in creating a zero-carbon neighborhood, a place where we can reduce our emissions and return our reliance to renewable fuels, we have been granted by an 8-to-1 margin a certificate of appropriateness by the Southside Historic Conservation Commission. The lone dissenting voice is important, but I would ask council to make sure that you reiterate the support from the commission for our project. We are in the KIZ. KIZ focuses on renewable energy. We are also hosting a 30-foot dish that will go on top of the building to create about 25% of our heating load. It'll be from renewable sources, and will do a lot to allow us to move towards our goal of zero carbon. And I remind you a bit of some of the history. When the building was built 100 years ago, it was the strongest and most progressive building in the city of Bethlehem. Furthering that, the Globe newspaper went on to say architecturally it's the most handsomest building, the most modern building, and certainly in this section of the state, and one that will reflect on the highest credit of our town. We have continued to make sure that that relevance is what we're striving for, and to make it a rebirth at its 100th birthday to celebrate what can be done with technology for a new building in South Bethlehem, but to be done on an old building is what we're asking for your support. It took us 4 times to get through the commission, and we'd like to continue our good work in moving that forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment on an issue that City Council will be voted on?
Mr. President, could I inquire? I would like to make further remarks at the end of the meeting on matters that are not on the agenda. Will I be permitted 5 minutes at
Yes.
that time? Thank you.
Al Bernitas, 1004 Johnston Drive. I would like to support the resolution that I believe the council is going to vote on tonight. Unfortunately, I haven't read the resolution, so I don't know what it's going to say. I hope that it says that the council is going to join in as a party in opposition to the appeal of Mr. Atiyah for the treatment facility at 113 Blueberry. So I'd just like to go on the record that I support that. That is what the resolution is for. I'd also like to point out that Mr. Atiyah also appealed a decision for 3485, I believe it's 3485 Linden Street, where he also is appealing a decision of the zoning officer denying him a permit to build another residential treatment facility. So that will be coming up next. That has been basically postponed. It needs to be rescheduled. I'd like to make City Council aware of that, so that if you decide to vote affirmative on this current resolution, that you also consider voting in the affirmative when we ask you to join the issue on 3485, which is the same, another treatment center. I'd also like to point out to council, and I'm not sure, I'd like to give you some information, I'm not sure this is a well-known fact, but there are 3 residential treatment facilities approved right now in the city of Bethlehem. 2 of them are within 800 feet of 3485 Linden Street. There's an ordinance that does not allow residential treatment facilities within 800 feet of another residential treatment facility. The zoning hearing board, I must say over the last 2 years, I've almost gotten to like the folks that are on the zoning hearing board from a human standpoint. I'm not sure that I agree with quite a few of their rulings. In particular, for instance, with this 800-foot distance, there was I believe, a treatment center allowed on Union Boulevard or Broad Street. It was 800 feet. It was within 800 feet of another treatment center. But the zoning hearing board that night decided, now it's about 6 months ago, to allow this other treatment facility to go in. So
Try to keep the topic on.
it's on residential treatment centers. Okay. So despite all the fear and the emotion and the council getting involved in this issue, the zoning hearing board may rule the other way. And that's a concern to all the citizens. And as far as livability of neighborhoods is concerned, that issue I've been dealing with for 2 years on another matter. And so I would be ecstatic if you really focused on the livability of neighborhoods with regard to 113 Blueberry. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other public comment on an issue? Shire?
Bill Shire, 1890 Eaton Avenue. One of my goals in life is to understand developers. And I'm making progress bit by bit. But every once in a while, a case comes along and it's a step backwards. I do not understand why anybody would ask for a special exception to put an open treatment center, drug treatment center, next to a high school. It just boggles the mind. Now, from all accounts, the Malvern Institute sounds like a fine place, an exemplary place. But there are so many places in the Lehigh Valley you can put something like that and not next to a high school. So I really don't understand. Another goal in my life is to understand the minds of the zoning hearing board. As Mr. Bernatos said, they're very nice people. In fact, at a fundraiser recently, I turned around and the three of them were standing in front of me and they said, let's vote no. And so they all voted no. They didn't say what they were voting on, but it was a very humorous and friendly gesture. But I do not understand their decisions. And as Mr. Bernatos said, it's conceivable that they could vote to approve this. I do not expect it, but they have surprised me before. So I think the resolution you have before you tonight is an excellent resolution. And please pass it with as many votes as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Steve?
Stephen and Alex, 737 Ridge. I did not intend to speak tonight on the issue in terms of Dewberry Road, but I feel compelled just to give an opinion, and I would preface that by saying the word compassion. Before I moved back to Bethlehem, I went through every corner of the city to see where I would want to live. And after every nook and cranny, I decided on Ridge Street, and I have the best view of the city. And local paper used a view of the city off my front porch. But I was told by many people, and it took me 5 years to get that property. I was told by many people I was insane to do that because it was located next to a halfway house, a drug and alcohol rehabilitation center. But I took my chances because the view I have from my front porch is phenomenal. It's the best view in the city. I say compassion because I didn't know what I was getting into. But my reward was my sight of the city. But in the interim, I was living there, I found that the residents next door were incredible people. When you say drug rehabilitation, the key word is rehabilitation. Trying to do better or be better. The dangerous drug people are the ones on the street who are not in rehabilitation. So, if they in fact wish to be rehabilitated, do we owe them any responsibility to help them along the way? Now, our mayor was at the halfway house I'm talking about on an anniversary. And I felt obliged to make a statement there because A, my neighbors always say hello to me. They're very polite. They shoveled my sidewalk. They've cleaned up some of my leaves. How many people in this room have neighbors who will do that for them? I was broken into. and devastating experience. But my neighbors suffered for me because they knew they would be blamed. And they were innocent, and it came out there was a member within a city who was guilty. So all I'm saying, I'm not for or against, but I'm just saying, before you make a final decision, keep in mind compassion. Whether that site is valid or not valid, I can't say. But I wish to share with you my experience to see that if anyone wants to be better, we owe them responsibility to give them a helping hand. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?